Hello and welcome back to Creative Instruct. I'm Vlad, UX UI designer and mentor within the community, and today I want to share with you a secret that helped plenty of my students get their UI skills from here to here. And that's no joke. Nothing rocket science, nothing too difficult, and once you're gonna wrap your head around this idea and try to apply it in your next web application design or mobile app design, you'll see that the results improve greatly. We're gonna talk about the 4-pixel grid system or the 8-point grid system, which is just a small variation of the first one. We're gonna look on some examples from big companies that advocate and encourage using this grid system. Basically, the type of companies that create software for millions of people to use, and also on some ideas, tips and tricks on how you can set up Figma to make your life easier if you need to follow such technique. I'm gonna tell you that it's gonna make things easier for you and for your colleagues, other designers or developers, when you need to communicate about the margin, about the padding sizings, the distribution of elements, the height of the elements. Now, let me share my screen and I'm gonna show you what I'm talking about. Let's just go for material.io is the design system from Google. It will redirect you probably to m3.material.io. They have a recent release, and if you would check under components, you will get access to all of their UI components that basically the developers and designers at Google or that follow material design guidelines will use. Okay, I'm talking about Android applications, applications built with Flutter, mobile, or desktop, or cloud. Over here, all of them are nicely organized and documented. I'm just gonna jump to buttons, and well, buttons you can access from here from this menu, and you can go to common buttons. I already have it open. When you enter buttons like any other component, it will have a nice staging area presenting you what's a button. Where you need to go is into specs, okay, the technical specifications. Now there are plenty of details here, but you need to look for those kind of sizes, okay, when they mark the height of a button or the element you're viewing, and the margins, or here there are the paddings, because inside we have the label of the button, then padding left, like the distance between that label and the left edge, and the padding right. You can see that all of these numbers, or let's look at the example where we also have an icon for that label. All of these numbers will actually be multipliers of 4. I can divide them exactly by 4. 40 by 4, it's 10. 16 by 4, well, it's 4. 8 by 4, it's 2, and so on. Okay, keep that in mind, and feel free to check some other components. I'm gonna look on chips. Again, multipliers of 4, 12, yeah, the left and the right padding, and the basic dialog. If you would go to dialogs, 24 paddings, 16 the size between the title and the text, that dialog window. And if you would scroll down, you will see here in dialog that there's a full example on how dialog window would look, that also has input fields like those drop downs for date and time. It's not only Google using this. Basically you can go to Carbon design system, and this is the design system from IBM. Just feel free to go under guidelines and choose the first option here, the 2x grid. Again, they will give you an entire story on how to use the grid, what's the idea behind the grid, what might interest you. I'm gonna quickly scroll down are the units, and they kind of go with the 8-point grid system. Over here, fixed based unit, this is the section you're looking for, and the grid is nothing but those horizontal and vertical lines that create this mesh. Now if you check those units, all of them will divide by 8. So look at this, they have a table below. Base number is 8. If you multiply it by 1, well, it's just gonna be 8. Okay, that's logic. If you multiply 8 by 2, you're gonna get 16. If you multiply it by 3, you get 24. Now, where does this play in? Over here, where they have a nice video, a nice demo, the vertical rhythm. And you can play this one and stop it. Let's try to see the first part. Basically a web page, okay, some sort of a blog. All of those spacers that they marked, like the space between the title and the first paragraph, the end of the first paragraph, beginning of the second paragraph, or items you might have on the right side here, those popular stories, all of them will use this kind of spacing units. So that's just an example of companies out there using a grid system. Let's look on how we can set up Figma. Okay, I just moved to Figma, and over here what I have is kind of a cheat sheet, basically what you've seen before. Now those spacers that you see here, these are for the 8 point grid systems, and this for the 4 pixel grid system. They can be used whenever you need to create an interface. Maybe you're working on a wireframe, just like in this example, okay, on the left, and you would want, if you already define them as components, you could just call that element, that instance, and try to change it from here, and try to basically adjust the spaces between whatever elements you decide to place in your composition. Now, a wireframe, I know it doesn't look pretty, it's just a low fidelity design, black and white grayscale, but overall it should start to give you a feeling on what elements need to appear there, and the distribution of the elements, the alignment, and so on. So it doesn't have the final styles, it doesn't have the proper labels and naming, but still it should give you an idea on how your design is gonna be framed. Another way would be, let's say that I'm just starting with a new design. Up here I'm gonna create a frame. Probably many of you have this approach. Let's call an Android small frame. I could add a grid, a layout grid. Okay, so I'm just gonna hit plus. I have a grid set at 10 pixels. Okay, that's the size. Since I said that we're working with a 4 pixel grid, let's change this to 4, and also the color, maybe we're gonna go with a light blue. Okay, now let's zoom in. So whenever I'm gonna have, let's say, one of those units, I'm just gonna call them, because I have them ready. A 4x4, I have it here, is gonna take up 1 square. Okay, it makes sense, one of those bigger squares. Now if this would increase, like you've previously seen, 16 by 16, well, that means 4 squares on the horizontal and 4 squares on the vertical. There's also the idea of setting up the nudge amount. Okay, because basically what does that mean? If I use my arrow keys, let's say right arrow, it will move 1 pixel at a time, and if I hold shift and use my right arrow again, it will jump by 10. This can be configured if you go to the Figma menu, preferences, nudge amount, and make the small nudge to go 4 pixels at a time. So that means whenever you're gonna hit left, right, up or down arrow, it's gonna move by 4 pixels. And the big nudge, maybe you can go with 16. Okay, I'm gonna press enter to confirm, and look what's gonna happen now. If I would move my element, maybe you have over there an icon or a button. Now it moves by 4 pixels each time. Again, it will speed up. Yeah, instead of pressing that keystroke 4 times and risking of ending up somewhere in between, you know, with a random number, it's better you force yourself to go with this kind of increments. Okay, one last thing that you can do is actually, and I'm gonna use this time a high fidelity design, which didn't took that long to build once I had the wireframe ready. Basically, whenever you build your components to, yeah, let's just select, for example, the card over here. I clicked on the card and now I'm holding Alt or Option. By hovering over the element on top, on the title, I see that red line. Over here I see 8, right? So again, I kind of set up the design in such a way, yeah, that the components, when I constructed them with auto layout, they will follow those paddings, those left and right, top and bottom. That's another thing over here. If you're dealing with input fields and they're made with an auto layout, over here I can constrain my paddings the way I want to. Like that, no matter how your component will stretch, the paddings will stay in place. Same thing for the buttons. Okay, you can see all those numbers. Yeah, they're multipliers of 4. Well, that's all for today, guys and girls. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. I'm gonna link the sources in the description below, and I'm gonna come back again on this channel with some new things. Actually, I have a friend that asked me to help him with the website redesign, so hopefully we can see an entire project start to finish. So yeah, stay tuned. I'll see you in the next one.